The dollar's strength is blinding the reality that gold and silver are performing really, really, really well in other currencies. So give it time. And as the dollar starts to lose its share of settlement transactions in energy, I think ultimately it will start to erode its reserve status. And then we will start to see gold and silver take off the way that we have always anticipated. And just have to hang on, I guess, and trust your gut. Since March and April, there's been an awful lot of gold investment as well. And I attribute that to the instability in the banks, where people are yanking out very, very large sums of money to protect themselves, to be their own bank. And so in that environment, you know, you could have $100,000 worth of gold right now, you know, in your two front pockets. You'd have roughly 50 ounces in each pocket. If you look at every promotion I've done for almost 3 years, it's probably been 99.5% silver. I view it as the most undervalued asset, the value of a generation. I do mean that, honest to God. I wouldn't count out gold either. And I tell people that, you know, when you have a tier one asset, when you have an asset that is being accumulated by the banks in greater numbers than ever before, over the last 18 months, there's a lot to be said for gold, even though silver is the most attractive play on the planet. Put it all together, logistics come into play. And there are a lot of people who would rather not store things, even in a very reputable institution like Brinks. There is wisdom in the statement that if you don't own it physically, or possess it, you don't own it. Now, that's really not true, but what is true is that gold and silver are assets that maintain no counterparty risk, or are not someone's liability simultaneously with your ownership. So there is something to be said for that. And those people who want to take possession and have any semblance of being nimble, well, I think they would also add some gold into that equation. So pure value, silver takes the cake. But on very, very large purchases, it can become difficult if you don't want storage. You have 23 countries that have formally submitted their application for BRICS 2. You have 22 or 3 countries that have expressed interest in it as well. These are massive, massive events that, you know, I don't think people are really thinking about when they talk about it really being a nothing burger, what came out of the meeting. They were expecting the price of gold to explode. They didn't issue a gold-backed settlement currency, but they came back and tasked their financial advisor, or not the financial advisor, the financial ministers of these countries to do their due diligence and come back next year and bring their findings. What I also found to be recently very relevant is that, you know, you look at Iran, and Iran has now become a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS in a span of 1 year. This is massive. You look at Saudi Arabia, their oil exports have fallen to a 6-year low, as has their treasury holdings, which they've been selling and dumping. It's not a good thing. It's little by little by little by little by little, and then all at once. One last thing I'd like to talk about regarding, 2 things actually, regarding the BRICS, is that Belarus is now proposing to hold a joint summit between the Eurasian Economic Union and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now, I have talked about this forever. These 2 groups, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which Saudi Arabia has applied to and Iran has been admitted to, is the largest regional financial and military organization in the world. And the symmetry between these 2 groups and the BRICS nations and the Belt Road is uncanny. There's membership going through all of them. And the proposed meeting is to discuss the convergence of these organizations and how they can meld into BRICS. It's coming. You're seeing a larger and growing expansion of not only human population, but the utility and their GDP and all of their commodities and their military might. And all of these things are coming together. I try to be objective in the way that I look at things. I try to look at things the way that other people would look at things. And I guess the truth of the matter is that, Chris, we're still the minority in this in this ecosystem of finances. We are still the minority. And until the public wakes up and realizes the importance of protecting themselves with something like a hard asset, like precious metals, the way that the central banks are doing, then I think it's going to be frustrating in terms of watching these developments, whether it be a higher price or seeing the premiums take off. They will again. And again, I'll say, I believe it will be the banks that light the fuse. I really do believe that there will be bank failures and bail-ins that light the fuse. So it befuddles me that the premiums aren't rising, that the demand for physical, look, don't get me wrong, it's still strong. It's not like it was in 2017. It's still very, very strong. And we're on pace to have our biggest year ever. I never thought that would be possible after last year. But my point is, it should be tenfold stronger based upon what I see in this economy and what I see on a broader macro perspective. So no, premiums have not taken off yet. They've plateaued. It's a very consumer friendly market, both in price, premium, and also availability. Look, it's interesting. The price, really, I think the people who are actively in this market understand what's going on with the price. They understand that it is being done to maintain an illusion of strength and stability in a currency that is fractured and fragmented and starting to lose share of its global dominance. And I think that price is less of a hindrance in terms of its counterintuitive action or its non-performance yet. I think people are understanding, even if it frustrates them, that deep down this is a good thing. Look, I know people would like to see prices moving much higher. We always say, be careful what you wish for. And the longer they're able to maintain the illusion of status quo, the better value it is. And I guess you just have to ask yourself, if you're frustrated by the lack of price performance, would you rather have everything falling apart and things really getting interesting on multiple levels, geopolitical and political and social, and all of the things that would impact our lives, with a higher price in silver, tailing along? That's going to come, but let's not rush it. I think the fundamentals are so strong right now that before we know it, those types of prices will be evident. But I'm more concerned about what comes along with it. I say that on all the podcasts I'm on. I say that your interview with Bart Chilton changed the way that I look at this world in terms of this gold and silver world. And what Jack said certainly blew me away to the nth degree. I think both are required listening if you are invested in metals.